one thing that was left in this slide was uh, Git ignore. Okay, so this part it was left in this particular Git basics. Okay, so this is a very important file that you can create. So let me, before I start with GitHub, I will quickly finish this part. It will take only 5 minutes. Then we will go to our actual, that is GitHub. Okay. So now let's suppose I open my project. Okay. So this is my project. If I do git status, okay, so I am on master branch. Everything is perfect. Now if I do git log one line, okay, so you can see yesterday we have done so many commits and everything, all these commits we can see everything is there. Now what I want to do right now is it is a special file that I'm going to create, which is called the Git Ignore file. Okay, now what is this Git Ignore file? Now let me show you what that is. Okay, so let me take for example, let's say uh, let's take this example. Okay, so let's take this image. Okay, so this is a small image, but I was looking for a bigger video. Okay, so anyway, I will take this image, right click, copy, and go inside my fun projects where my project is stored inside the Git course. I think we are in which folder? My project. Okay, so I am in my fun projects, my project. Okay, so I am in that folder, not Git course. Where is that folder? My project. Okay, my without a hyphen. Yeah, so this one. Okay, so I am on this folder, and if I just paste this image over here, so I've just pasted this image over here, and copied it from the desktop and pasted it over here. Now what do you think is going to happen if I do git status? So if I do git status, it should show me
Untracked file.
yeah, untracked files. So it should show me a new file is there, which is untracked. Okay, now what I want is, even though this is an image file, sometimes you may want your image file to be in your Git repository. Okay, so that is possible, but let's suppose I don't want any image file in my repository. Okay, I don't want any image file, any video file, nothing. Okay, so I don't want any such file. So by chance, even if I paste it, it should not go into my Git. Okay, so Git should ignore it. So in that case, what you have to do is you just have to create a file, a new file. It is called the .git ignore. Okay, so there should be a dot in front of it. So .git ignore file, press enter, and this creates a new file. And here, whatever files you type, those files will not be tracked. Okay, so it will be ignored. Okay, so as the name suggests, you just have to write down the names whichever you want it to skip, and it will skip those files. Okay, so now we have created it. So now if I want this file, that is this image file, to be untracked, okay, or it should not detect that there is a file called this image file. So what I can do, one option is I can just copy the name, okay, and paste it over here. Okay, .png. So I have copied the entire name and I've pasted over here. Okay, so let's do save. Okay, and now if I do git status again, you will see that a new file is there, git ignore. Obviously, because I've created that file, it is come inside untracked. Okay, but look at the previous file is not there. Okay, so the previous file, that is that image file is gone, that is not getting tracked now. Okay, so let me show you one more time. So if I create a new file, let's say uh, um, error.html. Okay, So if I create a new file, error.html, this file is not needed. Okay, so I have created this, right? This file is not needed. So now Git doesn't know that this file is not needed. Okay, so this is just a dummy file. If I do git status now, you will see that in the untracked error.html is also coming, but I don't want this file. Okay, so I don't want this file to be tracked by Git. Okay, so what I will do, I will come over here and I will add the name of the file over here. So error.html. Okay, so I will save this. And now if I do git status, you will see again now that file is not getting tracked. Okay, so now two files are not getting tracked. And in Visual Studio Code, you can see if any file is not getting tracked, they will be grayed out. Okay, you can see the color difference. So error.html and this image, they are grayed out. That means Git is not tracking these files. Okay, that is what this means. Okay, so that is the use of Git ignore. Okay, now there are few more things to this, like for example, now what can be the basic use of this particular what do you say, Git ignore file. Okay, so Git ignore file actually can be used to ignore any type of file. Okay, only requirement here is that it should not be already be inside tracking. For example, index.html is already being tracked by Git. That cannot be now undone. Okay, so unless you remove that from the history, you cannot do it. Okay, so once you have to see to it that whenever you put any name in Git ignore, it should not be already being tracked. So this thing you have to take care. Okay, so let's see so few more things. So where can this Git ignore be used? Okay, so there are many applications of Git ignore. Like for example, many websites may have files like log files. Okay, so if you develop web applications and if you start developing web applications, you will see that your web application will generate a log file, and that log file changes every time when you execute your program. And that actually need not be in the Git need not track the log files. Okay, so for that, for such log files, you can always put Git ignore entry. Okay, so let me show you how we can do it. Let's say for example, so usually what happens is there is a folder called log. Okay, so let's create a folder log, and inside this folder I'm going to create, let's say, log 1.txt. Okay, so this is the file. So now if I come over here and if I say git status, you will see that a new folder is getting tracked. Okay, but I don't want this to be tracked. I don't want this log folder to be tracked. So what should I do? So I can even untrack or ignore an entire folder. I don't want whatever is there inside that folder. I don't want to track it. Okay, so how to do it? You just write log and slash. Okay, so now log slash, as soon as I do log slash, now if I do git status, you see log folder completely is gone now. Okay, so there is no log folder getting tracked. So this is another important thing. Now there is one more thing that you can do. You can do general string matching. Like for example, if you want all images to be ignored, so what you can do is you can come over here. Instead of specifying the file name, what you can do is star.png. Okay, so when you do star.png, any png image in your repository will be ignored. Okay, so let me show you. So let's run this. So you can see it still works. Okay, so if I add one more image, it will still work. Okay, so this is all about Git ignore. Any doubts still here?
So this last one, please explain.
The star one.
Yes, yes.
Like for example, if you want to remove, or if you want to ignore all the, let's say, text files, you don't want to track text files. So what you will do, you will come over here and you will say star dot txt. Okay, so now what it will do, any file having an extension of txt will be ignored. Okay, so one more thing you can do, you can say log dot star. So what this will do, any file having a name log with any extension doesn't matter, okay, because I'm doing star here. So any file name, or any file having the name log and any extension will be ignored. Okay, so how to use this star, it is up to you. So you can use the star inside also. Okay, inside the folder also you can say star dot star. Okay, so any file with any extension, so this is also possible. So how to use it, it is completely up to you. Is it clear? Any doubts?
Sir,
Yes.
sir, so to ignore any file, we just have to write the name in the folder, na?
Yes, yes. You just have to write the name in the folder, or name in the folder, name in this file, git ignore. So you first have to create this file dot git ignore. This is a special name. You cannot name it anything else. Okay. And you cannot even name it as git space ignore. वो साथ में होना चाहिए और आगे dot होना चाहिए. So this file, once you create, then whatever names you put inside this, they will not be tracked. Okay. So usually what I normally do is, let's say for my website, there are some videos being uploaded by students. Okay. So what I do is I create an assets folder. Okay. And inside that I create a videos folder. And inside this, all MP4 videos I skip. This is how I write my git ignore. So that whenever you upload a file, then every time when you upload a file, Git will say there is an untracked file. That is not what I want, right? I only want to track my code, not your files, binary files, right? So any such things which the user is uploading, that folder must be always inside git ignore. Okay, like for example, if you look at your CMSs, there is a resume uploading place, right? So let's say this is the folder assets. Okay, and let's say CV is the folder. And how will I skip resumes? Can anybody tell me what should I put next?
star.doc.
Star.doc. Okay, so if it is a doc, then doc, otherwise I can write. So I have
PDF,
had a validation that PDF is only allowed. So I will write star.pdf. So any file. Okay, so if I write it like this is different and this is different. You must have understood what is different when I write it like this, what is different when I write it like this. Okay, so can anybody tell me what is the difference between these two?
There is a folder named asset in your Git repository, then again a folder in asset named CV, and then the file is stored in CV folder.
So basically, this git ignore is applied to only this particular folder. Okay, but when
And
you
the
do
next
this,
is for all.
yes, it is for the entire repository. Okay,
Yeah.
so this has to be taken care. So this is very risky. Okay, so by chance कोई अच्छा PDF भी रहेगा तो वो भी ignore हो जाएगा, right? So never do this. You have to be specific which folder you want to ignore. Okay. Okay. I think that's it for git ignore. And obviously, after writing your code, git ignore file has to be committed. Okay, so like normal files, this has to be committed. So let me show you git status. So when I do git status, now obviously all the files have come back because I have removed it from git ignore. So अभी देखो सब कुछ आ गया वापस, ये image file भी आ गया, सब आ गया, right? So let's try to resolve that. Star.png, then error.html, then I want log also to be removed. Okay, log भी मैंने untrack कर दिया. So now if I do git status, you will see only git ignore file is there. Okay, now obviously this also has to be committed, otherwise in your remote repository, that means in GitHub में पता ही नहीं रहेगा कि आपको ये ignore करना है, right? So that's why this has to be committed. So git add git commit -m added git ignore file. Okay, that's it. So I have done. Now if I do git status again, everything is clean. Okay, so this is what is git ignore. So I hope this part is clear.
But sir, can you explain log file क्या होता है?
हाँ, कौन सा?
सर log file मतलब क्या होता है? ऐसे unwanted file का?
हाँ, log file actually it's a जब हम लोग वेब डेवलपमेंट करते हैं ना, तो like in programming, you know, you can do printf and you know you can see what is the output of a particular variable. But once the program, when you design web pages, at that time also you can actually, during development you can obviously check. But once your website is live, at that time you cannot show debug messages on your web page, because that will, you know, affect your users. Okay, so users are seeing debug messages and all those things. It doesn't look good. So what you do is all these debug messages, you send it to log files. So those log files are only for debugging your program. It is not actually required. Okay, so it is only later on when you want to find out what went wrong, so you can look at the log file and check it. Okay, so these log files are not actually part of your source code. Okay, so it should not be part of your source code. So that's why whenever you have a log code, always put it inside git ignore. You should never put it in git. Okay, okay. Okay, so now this is done. Now let's close everything. Now we are ready to start with our today's topic, that is GitHub. Okay, so now we are starting with the new topic, that is GitHub. So today entirely we will be looking at GitHub only. Okay, so let's see what is GitHub first. So GitHub is nothing but it is a Git service provider. Okay, so that this is where you are going to actually store your code. This is a central repository, you can say, the central place where you can store your code. So they provide you obviously free of cost all the repositories. So previously GitHub used to do a nice thing, that all open source projects were free of cost. So you can host any open source project, and that was the reason why GitHub became so popular. All open source developers used to host their source code in GitHub only. But then there were certain websites like Bitbucket and GitLab. They used to provide private source code also for free. Okay, so they started becoming popular for people who did not want to make closed source softwares. Okay, so like for example, in our case also, so all my code is in Bitbucket. It is not on. So all my closed source projects are on Bitbucket, whereas all my open source projects are on GitHub. Okay, so that was when I started. That was the scenario. But now what GitHub has done, looking at other competitors, because other competitors are also providing you private repositories for free, then GitHub thought, why not we also do it, so that, you know, everybody will shift to GitHub. So now GitHub has started private repositories also for everyone. Okay, so now as such there is no issues, so you can create private as well as public. Now what do you mean by private and public? So public repositories means the source code or the code that you write that will be visible to everyone, so anyone can copy your code and modify it. That is what open source means. Okay, and private repository means that nobody can see your code and only your team members can see your code and develop it. So now based on what your project is, so sometimes you get creative and you try to make something for the entire world, so there you try to make it an open source project. But sometimes you're working for a company which is making a software, so there you cannot create a project which is open to all, right? So then this is not possible, so there you need to have a private repository. So that's why GitHub provides you both. And in fact jitne bhi providers hai, everyone provides you both options. So we will see today GitHub, and tomorrow and day after tomorrow we will be working on Bitbucket. So because I will show you why, but both are extremely popular and both are extremely good. Bitbucket is not that popular like GitHub, but because of other reasons, Bitbucket is popular with companies. Okay, so let's move on. So what are the other replacement to GitHub? So other than GitHub, what other providers are there? So there is Amazon AWS Code Commit, Bitbucket, one of my favorites, Codebase, GitLab. Now GitLab also provides you GitLab itself is a free, it gives you a free open source code base where you can host your own repository. Okay, so you can create your own GitHub kind of a thing. Then Launchpad, Microsoft Azure, SourceForge. So all these are there. SourceForge was very popular in between, but then something happened. They are now not that popular. Okay, so now let's begin.
होस्टिंग मींस क्या कहना चाहते हैं सर?
होस्टिंग मतलब एक सर्वर पे आपका कोड डाल के रखते हैं, basically that is hosting. Okay, so they are just serving your code on their server, that is called as hosting. Okay, so now all those who are doing, so I hope I hope everybody has signed up for this GitHub education pack or student developers pack. If not, I will paste the link and I request everybody to create your account on this. Okay, I will open this over here. So this is the GitHub for student developer pack. Okay, this is a very important feature of GitHub that they provide for all the students. So only the requirement is you should have a student, you should be a student, right? So you can see all the offers that GitHub provides. There are lots of offers. You can see they give you free hosting. So DigitalOcean provides you $100 credit. Okay, then Namecheap provides you 1 year domain free. Then there is name.com providing again 1 year domain registration free, right? Then there is courses, 6 months, 60+ free courses you will get, right? This is a very good IDE for making source code projects, but nowadays we use Visual Studio Code, so this doesn't make much sense. But all those who are those who know what is PyCharm, they know. Okay, so they can get this feature. Azure, Microsoft Azure, the cloud, they also provide $100 credit, and you get GitHub Pro. So you can see what all things in GitHub Pro you will get. Then so this is a big list. I'm not going through each one of them. So all this you will get with the help of this. So this is just a place where you can see all the features. Okay, so all that you can get. So all you have to do is click over here, get your pack, and click over here, get student benefit, right? And here you have to continue. Okay, so you have to, I think you have to put your email next, because I'm already signed in. That's why it is not showing me. So you need to have an email ID which is eng domain. So once you complete that entire process, you will have a GitHub account ready. So I hope everybody has already created their GitHub account. If not, or if you already have a GitHub account with your personal email ID, that is also fine. You can go to emails in settings. I will show you. So just go to, so I'm signing into my account. So once I sign in, so this is what my sign in looks like. So you can see after I sign in, it is asking me to add my my account to college email. So here you have to add your college email to get the college benefit or student benefit. So once you complete this, your account will be activated. Okay, so I have already added our college in this list, so you can easily do it. So now let's go back to github.com. So GitHub, I'm coming out of GitHub education, and now I'm coming to github.com. So once you go to github.com, this is how your GitHub page looks like. Okay, so initially there may be no repositories as such. In my case, this is just my backup GitHub account. My actual GitHub account is different. This is just my backup where I, do some fun stuff. Okay, so it may be blank for you all for the time being, but we will see how to create different new repositories. Okay, so the first thing that you do after logging in is basically, that GitHub is a place where you host your repository. Now to host your repository, so this part is done. So now we will move on to the next part of our presentation, that is how to create a repository. So once your account is done, so I hope you will complete this because the next part requires you to have a GitHub account. Even if it is not an education pack, that is also fine. It is not necessary. Whatever I'm teaching you, it is not necessary that it has to be education pack. You can add it later also. You just create an account in GitHub and that's it. Okay, so now how to use GitHub. So to use GitHub, there are two ways. So both these ways I have explained before in the first Git operation. So here, the first step, whether you are using the Git clone method or you are using the Git remote method, in both the cases, your job is to first create the repository. Okay, so let's first do that. Let's first create a repository. So let's come to GitHub. And to create a repository, there are multiple ways. You can click on the new button over here. That will create a repository. Or you can see on the top right hand side. So let me just zoom in a little. So here on the top right hand side, here is my profile. And on next to it, you can see a plus sign. So there also you will see new repository. Right, so I just have to click over here to create a new repository. So I always prefer to do it like this because if you are on a different page, this new button will not be there, right? So it's better you stick to this, click on new repository, and this page is what comes next. So now here, all you have to do is give a name for your repository. Okay, so let's say my workshop 1. So I have just created a new repository, workshop 1. Only thing you have to note is this name should be unique inside your repository. So if you already have a repository with the name workshop 1, you cannot create another one. So this has to be unique inside your account. So in your account, there should be unique name. So I have done this, and a tick mark shows that this is available. Perfect. You can write any description. So this is optional. So I will say sample repo for GitHub workshop, right? That is done. Next part is very important. So do you want this to be public or private? So if you are working on a project with your team members and it is a let's say mini project or a major project, always go for private. Don't go for public. And if you want to work on a general project which you want to release open source to other people, then go for public. Okay. So now one thing to note again, public means everybody can see your code. They cannot change it, but they can see your code. But when you do private, nobody can see your code. Okay. So now I will do, let's see, I will do private. Okay. Let's do private. And then below that, you will see 3 options. So do you want to add a readme file? I will explain you what is a readme file later, but it is asking you, do you want to add a readme file? So I will not select any of these files. Okay. So I will initialize it without checking these 3. So I will not check it. If I want, I will add it manually. So basically, to create your repository, give it a name, give it a description, select whether you want to work on an open source project or a private project. So usually it will be private unless you know what you're doing. If you want to go for public project, and then click on create repository. That's it. So this is the next very important page. Okay. And here is where all the instructions are given to you, right? So now let me come down. And here you can see there are multiple options they are giving you. So they are saying create a new repository on the command line and add this particular line. Okay, so this is what it is saying. So now I will show you both the methods that I was talking about. So this is the first method that I'm going to talk. So the first method is like this. So this is one thing to note. This is my GitHub repository URL. So this is my GitHub repository URL. So this you should note it down. Okay. So now I will show you both these methods of how to do this. Okay. First, we will look at this method, Git Remote. Okay. So now Git Remote, when to use Git Remote wala method. So let's suppose in our case, so if I open my Visual Studio Code, this is my code that I have written while explaining yesterday's session. We have written this, right? Some files, some random files is there, and this is what I have written, right? So this code is already ready with me, right? And it's already a Git repository. So whenever you have a code which is already there and it is in Git, it is not in GitHub, but it is in Git. And if you want to just attach GitHub to it, then you use Git Remote. Okay, so you can see it is giving me all these commands, and you just copy this. Okay, so you just copy this and you can paste it over there, and you can start making it. Okay, so let me go to over here and paste it. Okay, so I'm going to do this, and now my Git Remote, it is connected. My Git is now connected with GitHub. That's it. That is all you have to do, right? Now let me do Git status. So now I am on my master branch. Now there is one little problem, that is, I think this is using main. Is it using main? Yeah, so this is using main. So let's see if it gives me any error or not. So I am over here. Now I want to push all this code. Right now my GitHub repository is completely empty because I have just created my GitHub repository. It is completely empty. I want to push all these things, all the code that I've written on my local computer to GitHub, right? So what I did first, I added the remote repository. So this is my first step. After doing this, I have to do git remote, sorry, git push. Okay, so I have to give the command git push, and I have to give where do you want to push it. Okay, so where do I want to push it? So now that is what you have to find out. Where do you want to push it? So that I don't know right now. So what I will do is I will first run this command git remote, pure git remote, nothing else. Okay, only git remote. So you will see there is only one remote server attached, that is called origin. Okay, there is only one server attached. It is possible that for backup you may create a repository in GitHub as well as in Bitbucket, and now you can push the code at both the places just for backup. By chance अगर एक सर्वर बंद हो गया तो भी अपने दूसरे सर्वर पे डेटा रहेगा, right? For that, but usually it is not required. So I have added, so my remote repository name is origin. So this is one thing that we should know. So now I can run git push, name of the repository, remote repository, that is origin, and which is the branch that you want to push. So our branch name is, if you see from here, master, right? So let's push master and let's press enter. So why is the repository not found? Okay, I think I have to change the branch to main only. Okay, so it will not take this particular master branch. Okay, so let's just follow whatever is written over here, and that will. Okay, so this I have changed. So now you can see with this command, our master is now changed to main. Okay, so now I will run this command again. I will add this. Let me see. Actually, मैंने ये डाल के हो गया. It's already exists. So now I can push it. So let's. Sorry, I have to push main. Repository not found. ऐसा क्यों आ रहा है? Okay, maybe I have removed my GitHub account. Let me just check credentials. Okay, let me remove everything. So if you already have a backup account, then this will not work. So let me remove all GitHub credentials. So yeah, so this I have to show it to you. So if you have multiple accounts in GitHub, so once you if you want to switch, you have to go to Windows, you have to go to credentials manager, and here you can delete anything that starts with GitHub. Okay, and then that account will be deleted. So now let me try to do push origin, and now you can see this comes up. Okay, so this tells me that now there is no more what do you say, no account linked. So now I have to log in. So I will just stop my share and quickly log in, and then I will show it to you again. Okay, so I'm entering my username, and obviously I don't know the password. I have to Okay, so I have signed in. Okay, so and after signing in, it has been pushed. So I have stopped the share so that you cannot see what I'm entering. देखा तो नहीं ना किसी ने? ठीक है, मतलब नहीं देखा रहेगा obviously. Okay.
No, sir.
ठीक है. So now everything is pushed. You can see my branch is pushed. Yeah. So somebody yesterday asked why it is main, why not master, right? So I just searched. I was also wondering why GitHub changed it to main and why not master, because everybody else still uses
Sir.
master. Yeah.
So there's a question in the chat box.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Sir, you can add the repository using palette in the setting also. How to ignore track file?
Ignore track files. So there is a command called git rm. Okay, so you have to do git rm and clean it. So I have posted all the advanced git videos on the what do you say, on the Google Classroom, so you can refer that. You have to first remove it from the history. So once the file is inside the tracking, then it is a bit difficult. So to do git ignore, so you have to use git remove, and you have to give a flag cached, CACHED, and then you can remove that file from that, and then you can add it to the git ignore. So there is a long process basically. So directly it will not happen. Okay. हाँ, so मैं बोल रहा था कि main क्यों है. So I just searched, so there is no I couldn't find any answer to this as to why they have replaced, but in some blogs it is mentioned that to avoid the reference to slavery, because master and slave. So this thing in US, there is there was a lot of slavery at that time. So they wanted to remove that reference of slavery from GitHub. So that's why they removed that master branch name. Instead of that, they replaced it with main. That is what I have read. I don't know whether it is true or not. Other than that, there is no reason I could find why it is replaced to main. Okay. So luckily they have mentioned what is to be done in that case. So you can see now this is my repository, and all my files are now on my GitHub repo. So if I open my this thing, so you can see whatever was in git ignore, that is not there over here. So those files are not there. Like for example, error.html, that has not come over here because that is ignored, right? And this log file, that is also not there. This image file, that is also not there, right? So that is the beauty of having a git ignore file. Now there is one thing that is missing in this project is the readme file. So now what is this readme file? So readme file, let me show you what that is. So let me go to so let me go to any of my repositories. So let me go to DSA codes repository. So if I open that repository, you will see this particular documentation that is coming up. So this is the readme file. So if you have a readme file, there you can put details about your repository. So like what is this repository? Why is it used? How to use it? And who has developed this? So all these things you can put. Like for example, I have done this. So I have created a repository for DSA where I have said it is for DSA programs. By whom? By me. Which department? Vagera vagera. And module 1K programs, module 2K programs, and here all the programs are listed. Okay, so it is like a page which says basic details about this. Okay. Now this is written in a very specific language called Markdown language. It is like a scripting language. I have uploaded videos of that in Google Classroom. So if anybody wants to learn how to write this readme file, then you can refer that video. I have explained in detail how to make this. Okay. So now let's do one thing for our repository. So this is our repository workshop 1. This workshop 1 does not have readme file. So let's try to add that and see how to upload that file to our remote repository. So now I am working on my local computer, right? So let's come over here. First thing that I will do, I will close everything out. And first thing that I will do is I will create a file, new file. The name is very specific. It is readme, readme.md. Okay. So MD stands for markdown. So it is the language. So markdown language. So I'm creating this. And here I can start writing my code. So I can say a hashtag and workshop GitHub and double hash Shiburaj. Okay, so this is how it will look. Visual Studio has a wonderful interface to preview this before uploading over there. So you can click on the top right side, I think 4th last button. Okay, so if I click on this, it opens a preview of this code. So how this will look in GitHub. So that will be shown over here. So I'm happy with this. Now I will commit this. Okay, so this is like a normal file only. I will do git add, git commit -m, and I will say added readme file. Okay, so I have committed it. Okay, so do you think by committing it, it will come over here? क्या लगता है?
No
sir.
push
No.
करना.
So if I refresh, nothing is here. So now one more step is remaining. I have to push. So whenever you want to send your code, updated code to the server, you have to do git push. Okay, so you can actually mention where to which server you want to push, origin, and which branch you want to push, main, right? So these things can be mentioned, but because I have only one remote server and I am on the main branch, so I need not give this also. This is not required. I will just simply push. Obviously, I have forgotten to add an upstream. So it shows me that upstream is not set. Just copy this command, paste it, and done, right? So now my code is uploaded to my GitHub, right? So now if I refresh, you will see perfect. Now I have my Git readme file also there here, and the readme file is displayed below. So whatever contents is there, this is displayed over here. Okay, now this readme file is very important because this is where whenever you work on any open source project, this is where you will put all the setup instructions and all other how to use the library, etc. So let me show you some example. So do I have yeah, so you can see I have a complete list of libraries that I use. So this is all the libraries that I use. So let me open any one of these libraries. Let's say, for example, a router, right? So I'm opening this repository. So this is somebody else's repository, it's not mine. So you can see, come down and you can see what all things it is mentioned in the readme file, right? Now, how to add links, how to add bullet items, how to add code, source codes, You can see if you go down, you can also write codes, right? So how to do all these things I have mentioned in the video that I have uploaded. So you can just go through it and you will get how to. So you can see how well the documentation is written. So one important thing about making open source project is very important is your documentation. So your documentation, if it is good, people will use it. Otherwise, nobody will try to use it. Okay. So this thing has to be taken care. So let's come back. So let's come back to our repository, workshop 1. So any doubts still here? Any queries?
Means, हमारा दूसरा मास्टर का नाम था ना, वो
हाँ.
उसको भी मेन में ही रखना पड़ेगा ना, तो ऐसा कंफ्यूजन नहीं होगा?
मतलब समझा नहीं क्या?
Sir, yesterday we have made 2 branches ना, one with master and another name is new file script, ऐसा करके था.
हाँ, आप कितने भी branches बना सकते हो. Okay, so today we are going to see that only. You can create any thousands of branches. That is not important. But
सर पुश करने के टाइम मेन ही करना पड़ रहा है ना.
हाँ, पुश करने के टाइम मेन ही करना पड़ेगा, बिकॉज मेन में ही आपका एक्चुअल कोड, मतलब फाइनल कोड आपका मेन में रहेगा. ओके, बाकी जब ब्रांच रहेंगे वो उसके इंटरमीडिएट कोड रहेंगे, बट मेन कोड आपका जो फाइनल रिलीज कोड रहेगा, इट विल बी ऑलवेज इन मेन. इन केस ऑफ GitHub, if you go to other servers like Bitbucket वगैरह, उधर अभी भी शायद से मास्टर ही है. आई थिंक लेटेस्ट मैंने अभी तक कोई रिपोजिटरी बनाया नहीं है, सो आई डोंट नो. मेरा जितने भी रिपोजिटरी सब पुराने हैं, सो पुराने रिपोजिटरी कुछ चेंज हुए नहीं है, राइट? सो बट इट डजंट मैटर वेदर इट इज मेन. सो वर्ड में क्या रखा है, राइट? आपको मास्टर हो या मेन हो या कुछ और हो, आपको एक ब्रांच में सब काम करना है बेसिकली. दैट इज व्हाट द आइडिया इज. ओके, एंड देयर आर अदर mechanisms also that I will explain. जब वो स्लाइड आएगा तब मैं समझाता हूँ. ठीक है, so any other doubts?
Sir, can you repeat again how to make GitHub?
How do you
Put the code in GitHub.
how do you put the code in GitHub? So basically you first have to create a repository. So I will be doing it again now because I want to show you the second method also. So what I have covered right now is the first method. Okay, so the second method is also remaining. So for the second method, at that time I will show you again how to create a repository. So but because you asked, I will just quickly explain. So you have to click over here, create a new repository, and after creating a repository you will get few steps that you copy, change. So because when you created your local repository, the branch name was master, so but GitHub uses main. Okay, so you can actually change it. You can go to settings and change it to master also. That I will show you how to change it. But let me, so you have to run, किधर गया? अच्छा, वो मैंने शायद बंद कर दिया. So you have to run git branch -m main. So it will actually going to modify the current branch to it will just going to rename it to from master to main. And after that you can just run this command. Okay, but before that you have to add the repository. So you have to run first this command, Git Remote add origin and the URL of the GitHub repo. So this has to be run. So what this command does is it connects Git with GitHub. Once that connection is made, this is a one-time thing. You don't have to do it again ever. Okay. So once this connection is made, then whenever you want to upload your code to the server, you just have to run this command, Git Push origin main. So this origin is the name that you have given when you added the remote. Okay, so you are actually giving a name. So you can change this origin to any name you want. Okay, but by default it is named as origin. That's why it is kept as origin. You can change it to anything. जो भी आपने नाम दिया रहेगा वो स्पेस जो भी आपका ब्रांच का नाम है वो. So origin and main. Once first time when you do this, after that you can push it whenever you want. You just have to write git push. That's it. You don't have to do anything else. Okay. So I hope, yeah.
Sir, so there is a
Yes.
question.
Yes.
Sir, you don't need to stage the code, right?
You don't need to.
Stage the code. Like there's
You
a question like
you
we don't
always
need
have
to.
to stage the code. Okay. You
Okay.
cannot commit unless you stage the code. Git add, कभी भी आपने मुझे देखा रहेगा तो मैं पहले git add करता हूं, उसके बाद ही git commit करता हूं. I cannot directly do git commit. Okay. Now the Google Classroom link, I will share it to you again if anybody has not got it. Did you use Git for making our college website? Was it private? Obviously it has to be private. And yes, I used Git for making college website. Obviously all my softwares are made using Git only. Okay. But the service provider changes from project to project. Sometimes for private projects I use Bitbucket, and for majority of my open source projects I use GitHub. Okay, so now this is done. Now let me show you the second method of creating a repository. So the second method, I will go to again plus sign, create a new repository. Okay, and I will give it a name. So if I do workshop 1, you can see I cannot do workshop 1 now because workshop 1 pehle se hai. So let's do workshop 2. Okay, so new repo. Okay, just some comment that you can give, and this time I'm making this as public. Okay, and then again everything is unchecked. I'm not selecting anything, and create repository. Okay, now this is the second method that I'm showing you, that is git clone wala method. Now when do you use git clone wala method? It is slightly different. So when do you use git clone is when you have not yet started your project. There is no files at all. Okay, so आपने कुछ बनाया ही नहीं, अभी तक स्टार्ट ही नहीं किया है प्रोजेक्ट का, मतलब एक भी फाइल नहीं है आपका. इन दैट केस यू कैन यूज गिट क्लोन, राइट. सो आपके रिपोजिटरी में कुछ भी नहीं है और आपके लोकल में भी आपके पास कुछ कोड नहीं है. इन दैट केस दिस इज द बेस्ट ऑप्शन. एंड इफ यू गो डाउन, you can just copy this link. Okay, so ये जो repository का URL है ये copy कर लेना, and then come over here, right, and select a folder, any folder you want, right. So let me select another folder. Let's create a folder workshop 2. Okay, so I have selected this folder. So now this is a completely blank folder. This is one thing you have to check. It is a completely blank folder. Now open the command prompt. Okay, that is open your terminal and write this command git clone and the URL that you copied. Okay, so git clone the URL that you copied, and at the end you have to put dot. If you do not put dot, let us see what happens if you do not put dot. Okay, so let's try this out. So if I run this, okay, so it looks like you have cloned an empty repository. वो तो ठीक है, but you can see what has happened. Workshop 2 के अंदर एक folder बन गया workshop 2, right? So this is what happens when you don't put dot over here, right? So I will delete this. My PC is stuck. Okay, so let me close this. Let me open my project folder. कहाँ गया workshop 2? Workshop 2. Let me go inside. ये देखो folder बन गया workshop 2. Okay, so I want to delete this. So let's delete this. ठीक है. अब मैं वापस विजुअल स्टूडियो कोड ओपन करता हूं. Okay, now you can see it is empty. Now again I will run the same command, git clone, paste the URL, and at the end this time I will put dot. Okay, dot means this directory. So create the clone in this directory itself. Don't create another directory. That is what I'm saying. Okay, so if I press enter, you can see मेरा repository clone हो गया है, right? So now let's create first file, readme.md. Okay, so I've created this file and let's say hello world. Okay, that's it. एक सिंपल सा फाइल बनाया मैंने, उसके अंदर hello world डाल दिया. And now I am going to do git add. बाकी सब कुछ सेम है. Okay, git add, git commit -m, first commit. Done. Okay, so my commit is done, but that does not mean it will go over there. So what I have to do now, I have to do git push. Okay, so now when I do git push, it goes directly to the this thing, right, or server. So now let's go to our code and you can see now my file is ready, right? Okay, so this is the second way of doing the same thing, right? So is it clear how to, when to use which one?
तो रिमोट मतलब पहले से हमारे पास है.
हाँ, कोड है तो रिमोट यूज करो. मतलब आपके पास पहले से ही कोड है एंड गिट में है, मतलब आपने गिट यूज कर लिया है, गिटहब नहीं यूज किया बट गिट यूज किया है. इन दैट केस यूज गिट रिमोट ऐड. ठीक है, बट अगर आपने कुछ काम ही नहीं किया अभी तक, आपने अभी जस्ट प्रोजेक्ट स्टार्ट कर रहे हो, एक भी जीरो कोड है आपके पास, इन दैट केस यू क्रिएट अ रिपोजिटरी एंड क्लोन इट डायरेक्टली. ओके, और ये जो क्लोनिंग का कंसेप्ट है ना, ये ओपन सोर्स प्रोजेक्ट में भी काम करता है. ओके, सो लेट्स सपोज लेट मी गो टू एनी ऑफ दोस प्रोजेक्ट्स. तो जो प्रोजेक्ट्स मैंने अभी आपको दिखाया, समझो ये राउटर वाला प्रोजेक्ट है, राइट? सो ये प्रोजेक्ट है, अभी ये प्रोजेक्ट पे आपको काम करना है. सो व्हाट यू कैन डू इज यू कैन कम ओवर हियर, कॉपी दिस कोड, राइट? ये कोड मैंने कॉपी कर लिया एंड यू कैन कम ओवर हियर. जैसे हम लोगों ने पहले एक रिपोजिटरी के अंदर दूसरा मत करना, एक खाली फोल्डर खोलना पहले, ओपन फोल्डर. लेट्स से आई क्रिएट अ न्यू फोल्डर राउटर. ओके, select कर लिया. So now again you can see whenever I'm cloning, I'm starting fresh. Okay, so मैंने fresh चालू किया. Open the terminal. I will say git clone, paste the URL and dot. Okay, so now you can see it has copied all the code from that repository to my local computer. तो ऐसे आप कोई भी प्रोजेक्ट जो पब्लिक है, जो ओपन सोर्स है, उसको आप अपने पीसी में डाउनलोड कर सकते हो डायरेक्टली. ओके, सो जस्ट यू हैव टू डू इज go to code and copy this and then just use git clone, right? ठीक है,
मतलब पुल करने का जरूरत ही नहीं पड़े.
क्या करना?
पुल करने का जरूरत ही नहीं पड़ा ना, डायरेक्ट.
हाँ, पुल वुल कुछ नहीं करना है. क्लोन किया मतलब, क्लोन का मतलब यह है कि जैसे सर्वर पे है वो एज इट इज पूरा का पूरा मेरे पीसी में डाल दो. दैट इज व्हाट क्लोनिंग मींस. सो पुल वुल भी नहीं करना है. बट गिट रिमोट करोगे तो पहले तो सिर्फ कनेक्शन एस्टेब्लिश होता है, फिर पुल भी करना पड़ता है आपको. ठीक है, सो ये हो गया अपना. हाँ
Sir, like suppose if we directly download, like if you go to the code and directly download, then the code will not be downloaded, no? It will
code
be
will
in
be
zip
downloaded.
file.
No, very good question sir, दुबे sir, very good. So basically आप यहाँ से zip file भी डाउनलोड कर सकते हो, right?
Okay.
You can download it, but उससे तो क्या होगा, सिर्फ कोड ही डाउनलोड होगा, उसका वर्जन रिपोजिटरी डाउनलोड नहीं होगा. मतलब उसका गिट रिपोजिटरी डाउनलोड नहीं होगा. इट विल बी ओनली द सोर्स कोड.
Source
Right?
code. Okay.
तो उसमें मतलब जैसे कि अभी देखो, इफ आई गो टू, इफ आई सी देयर आर 182 कमिट्स, मतलब 182 बार जो प्रोग्रामर है उसने कमिट किया है वो सब गायब हो जाएगा. सो यू कैनॉट सी एनी कमिट्स, यू कैनॉट सी एनी लॉग्स, नथिंग. किसने कब चेंज किया कुछ भी नहीं दिखेगा, ओनली सोर्स कोड दिखेगा. ओके, सो इफ दैट इज व्हाट यू वांट you can obviously download the zip file. बट अगर आपको पूरा वर्जन कंट्रोल चाहिए, मतलब पूरा गिट रिपोजिटरी चाहिए उसका with all that going back, going forward, ये सब भी चाहिए, then you have to clone it. You should not download the zip file. ठीक है, so let's go back. Any questions till now?
No, sir, not yet.
Okay, can you explain HTTPS SSH on the repository URL? HTTPS SSH. Okay, this SSH thing is more required when you actually do Linux, when you are accessing it from a Linux environment. Okay, and this is required when you are actually accessing it through GitHub. There is a GitHub software also. GitHub desktop is also there, and it also provides you CLI. But these things, what they do is they restrict you to use GitHub only. So never use that. This is enough. The first one is enough. Okay.
Sir, there is a question asked by Uzefa. In Git clone, we doesn't need to add branch name in Git push command.
Sorry, again.
In Git clone, we doesn't need to add branch name.
That is
in Git push
very
command.
good question, Huzefa. That is because when you do Git clone, it does lots of things. It also sets the upstream. आपको अगर याद रहेगा, मैंने जब Git push किया था तो उसने बोला था set your upstream first, right? So वो चीज Git remote में करना पड़ता है पहले, but Git clone में ये सब automatically हो जाता है. So that's why I always prefer cloning it rather than doing Git remote. Okay. So जब भी मैं fresh project चालू करता हूँ ना, सबसे पहले मैं कोड नहीं लिखता, पहले जाके मैं repository बनाता हूँ and clone it, and then I start writing the code. हाँ सर, और कोई question है?
No sir, it was one question.
Okay.
Achha, sir, there is one question.
हाँ.
After cloning, where we can see the source code?
Wherever you have cloned it, right? आपने देखा रहेगा, मैंने जब भी क्लोन करना था तब मैंने पहले तो ओपन फोल्डर किया और एक फोल्डर बनाया और उसी के अंदर मैंने ये किया है, क्लोनिंग किया है, राइट? सो आई थिंक यू आर गेटिंग confused. I will show it to you again. So let's suppose this is the folder and you want to clone that repository over here. So what you do first is create a new folder. Okay, so let's call it project 1. Okay, so ये मेरा प्रोजेक्ट, इसके अंदर मुझे क्लोन करना है. So what you do is just right click. You can do it from Visual. मैंने Visual Studio वाला मेथड बताया. अब मैं सेम चीज Git Bash से करके दिखाता हूँ. Okay, so I will do open with Git Bash. Okay, and the same command I can run it over here also. So Git clone, right, and paste the link. Okay, and dot. Done. Right, so now if I open this, you can see the entire code. ठीक है, so अभी मैं इसको delete कर देने की जरूरत नहीं मुझे.
Sir, means I have not git it, the code I have which I have not git, मतलब उसको git नहीं किया है, लेकिन फिर मैं क्लोन करके उसमें डाल सकता होगा वो सारा कोड? नहीं.
If it is not in Git and you have a code, so first you put it in Git. Okay, जो मैंने प्रोसेस बताया Git init करके, so उसे Git में डाल दो. उसके बाद you can do Git remote add. अगर कोड है तो पहले Git में डालना पड़ेगा आपको,
मतलब रिमोट ही करना पड़ेगा.
हाँ, रिमोट ही करना पड़ेगा, कोड है तो. या तो फिर और एक ऑप्शन है, मतलब ऐसा नहीं है कि Git रिमोट ही करना पड़ेगा, और एक ऑप्शन है, यू टेक अ न्यू फोल्डर, यू क्लोन इट, एंड जहां पे आपने कोड लिखा है ना वो इधर आके पेस्ट कर दो. ठीक है, वो ऑप्शन भी है, राइट? सो दैट आल्सो यू कैन डू.
Sir, there is one more question.
Yes.
how to determine code is in which language and for which specific application.
तो उसके एक्सटेंशन से पता चलेगा. अगर डॉट सी है तो सी प्रोग्राम है, डॉट जावा है तो जावा प्रोग्राम है, डॉट सी एस है तो सी शार्प है, राइट, डॉट पी वाई है तो पाइथन है. So it depends what is the extension of your program. Okay, so based on that we can understand. Like for example, if I open this, you can see .php. That means it is a PHP program, right? So वो उससे समझ में आ जाता है कि कौन सा लैंग्वेज का प्रोग्राम है.
And
But
sir,
this,
हाँ, one more by the same. Can we directly run the code after cloning it on the code on the command line? Means after cloning, can we run the code directly on the command line?
not necessarily, because every project is different and every project may need a specific development environment. Like for example, अगर मैं ये PHP का ये वाला प्रोजेक्ट उठाऊं, ये वाला प्रोजेक्ट इज अ लाइब्रेरी फॉर लैरावेल. तो जब तक आपके पास लैरावेल नहीं है तब तक ये डाउनलोड करने का कोई मतलब ही नहीं है. ठीक है. सो जैसे अगर आपने सी प्रोग्रामिंग का एक कोई डाउनलोड किया है, लेट्स से फॉर एग्जांपल, लेट मी गो टू माय रिपोजिटरीज. ओके, सो इसके अंदर देखो कोई है क्या खास? नहीं, रिपोजिटरीज. ओके, जैसे कि ये डीएसए कोड्स. ओके, सो इसमें डेटा स्ट्रक्चर के कोड्स है. तो इसके अंदर इफ यू क्लोन दिस, यू विल सी, इफ आई गो टू स्टैक एंड क्यू, देयर इज अ सी प्रोग्राम. तो अगर आपके पास कोड ब्लॉक्स है या जीसीसी इंस्टॉल्ड है तो यू कैन डायरेक्टली रन दिस. ओके, सो गिट हैज नथिंग टू डू विथ वेदर योर प्रोग्राम रन्स और नॉट. ओके, तो अगर वो प्रोग्राम रन होगा कि नहीं वो तो आपके सिस्टम के ऊपर है. अगर आपके पास जावा इंस्टॉल्ड ही नहीं है और आपने जावा का कोड डाउनलोड कर लिया, you cannot expect Git to run your code. Git doesn't do that. Git only downloads the code. Environment setup करने का काम आपका है. जो भी लैंग्वेज है उसका एनवायरमेंट आपके पास होना चाहिए. ठीक है. ओके, सो नाउ लेट्स मूव ऑन टू द नेक्स्ट पार्ट. एक्चुअली ये थोड़ा सा, हाँ,
One more
yes.
question. Can you change the repository in GitHub after making repository?
The name, are you talking about the name? Yeah, you can change it. You can change the name. You can go to settings. Okay, and inside this you can see the repository name. Okay, but आपका पर्सनल है तो ठीक है, not an issue. अगर आपका पर्सनल रिपोजिटरी है तो you can obviously change it. But अगर आपका ओपन सोर्स प्रोजेक्ट है, never change your repository name अगर पॉपुलर है तो. ठीक है, बिकॉज क्या होगा, अगर पॉपुलर है आपका रिपोजिटरी और आपने नाम चेंज कर दिया तो जितने लोग भी यूज कर रहे हैं और जितना भी एप्लीकेशन उसको यूज कर रहा है वो सब बंद पड़ जाएगा. ओके, बंद नहीं पड़ेगा मतलब अपडेट नहीं हो पाएगा, राइट. सो इट इज नेसेसरी दैट यू, वंस इट इज रिलीज्ड, प्रोबेबली यू शुड नॉट चेंज इट, बट यू कैन चेंज इट. ओके
सर, पैसा मिलता है क्या, मतलब अगर जिसका ज्यादा ओपन सोर्स डालने के बाद?
पैसा नहीं मिलता है, फेम मिलता है. नाम कमाते हो बेसिकली आप. सो बेसिकली व्हेन यू गो फॉर इंटरव्यूज, you can, in your resume itself, you can put your GitHub URL and you can show your reviewer or interviewer that these many projects I have worked on. And the best part is, if you, आपको थोड़ा बहुत भी प्रोग्रामिंग का नॉलेज है, you just roam around, there are billions of open source projects in GitHub. Select any one project and you can fork it. You can see the forking option over here. So अगर आपको समझो कि ये जो DSA का कोड है इसमें आपको मुझे हेल्प करना है, ठीक है, मतलब you want to add some program, but I am not adding you as a collaborator. Okay, so actually वो part next आने वाला था, but फिलहाल मैं बता देता हूँ. So if you are not adding as a collaborator, then how to contribute? So you can fork it, do the changes and submit it. And when you submit it, then it is up to me whether I want to accept that code or not. अगर मैंने accept कर लिया ना तो मेरे repository में आपका नाम आ जाएगा. Okay, so when your profile is generated, you will see that, or your interviewer will see that आपने इतने सारे open source project में contribute किया है. So उससे नाम आता है. Okay, so basically it's all because all for fame, you can say. मतलब कितने आपके स्टार्स है, कितने गिटहब स्टार्स है आपके रिपोजिटरी में, कितने पॉपुलर पैकेजेस है आपके, सो ये सब के ऊपर रहता है। ठीक है, कोई भी ऑब्वियसली कोई भी पैसे के लिए कुछ नहीं कर रहा है यहाँ पे फॉर दिस, इट इज ऑल फॉर पॉपुलैरिटी। ओके, so let's move on to the next part. So
one question.
हाँ,
Can we develop project only in GitHub? Means we will not use Git in local.
no, yes you can,
Joseph,
actually you can. Let me show you how. So if I go to my code, you can see I can add files from here also. Okay, I can upload files directly here also. I actually do not need to clone only. I do not have to do anything. मतलब मैं Git PC में इंस्टॉल नहीं करूंगा ना तो भी मैं GitHub यूज कर सकता हूँ, बिकॉज ऑल दी ऑप्शंस फॉर डूइंग creating a file, uploading files, everything is here, right? But then the whole idea of version control is gone. You are not using GitHub or basically Git for version control. Rather you are just using it to upload your files. उससे अच्छा तो Google Drive में अपलोड कर लो ना। अगर आपको फाइल ही अपलोड करना है तो Google Drive में अपलोड कर लो, that is better, right? So if you want to use version control, you use it the right way, that is cloning it repository and then pushing it. Okay, okay, so let's move on to the next part. So this, I hope this part is clear, when to use Git Remote and when to use Git Clone, and this process is very important. So how to upload and download code. So whenever you want to download code from GitHub, you will use pull. Okay, and whenever you want to upload code to GitHub, you will use push. Okay, now there is one more command that is called as fetch. Now fetch is slightly different than pull. So fetch and pull, they both do the same thing, but there is a slight difference. What pull does is, pull will pull the code from GitHub to your local computer, and then it will merge with your PC. That means it will merge with your existing code. मतलब आपका जो करंट कोड है उसको रिप्लेस करके जो सर्वर में कोड है उससे रिप्लेस कर देगा, राइट? बट फेच इज स्लाइटली डिफरेंट. फेच क्या करता है? सिर्फ डाउनलोड करता है. इट ओनली डाउनलोड्स दी व्हाट डू यू से फाइल फ्रॉम गिटहब टू योर लोकल कंप्यूटर. देन यू विल हैव टू मैन्युअली मर्ज इट. वो डायरेक्टली मर्ज नहीं करता है, वो मैन्युअली मर्ज करना पड़ता है. ओके, so that's I don't use this fetch method too often, but we will see about this when we go to project management part. Okay, that is tomorrow or day after tomorrow. So let's so we have seen these things, how to clone and how to remote add a repository. So this is done. Now how to push and pull, this also we have seen. एंड फेच अगर करना है आपको तो ये उसका कमांड है, राइट? सेम एज पुश, सेम है. ओनली डिफरेंस इज इट विल ओनली डाउनलोड, इट विल नॉट अपडेट द कोड. आपको अपडेट गिट मर्ज करके मैन्युअली करना पड़ेगा. ठीक है, नाउ सो दिस इज ऑल अबाउट GitHub and how to use GitHub, right? But now comes the important point, is what is the right way of using GitHub, right? Now there is no right way of using GitHub, but it depends on what is your team. Okay, so there are 4 types of developers. Okay, first is solo developer. Solo developer मतलब आपके प्रोजेक्ट में आप अकेले हो और कोई नहीं है साथ में, राइट? तो क्योंकि आप अकेले हो तो आपके पास फुल कंट्रोल है. यू कैन डू वॉट एवर यू वॉन्ट. यू कैन डायरेक्टली वर्क ऑन मास्टर, राइट? मास्टर और मेन जो भी है आप डायरेक्टली पुश कर सकते हो, कोई पूछने वाला नहीं है, राइट? दैट इज व्हाट इज कॉल्ड एज सोलो डेवलपर, राइट? सो मेजॉरिटी टाइम्स यही होगा अगर आप स्टार्ट कर रहे हो तो. बट वंस यू गो टू इंडस्ट्री और लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल you are in college and working on a mini project or a major project, there you go to the second phase, that is trusted team developers. Okay, so when you do trusted team developers, here your team members are known to you and you trust them and you give them all the rights that they can upload the code directly. उनको कोई रिस्ट्रिक्शन नहीं है कि आप अपलोड नहीं कर सकते, ऐसा कुछ नहीं, यू कैन डायरेक्टली अपलोड. सो दिस इज ट्रस्टेड टीम डेवलपर्स. देन द थर्ड वन इज अनट्रस्टेड बट देयर आर टीम डेवलपर्स. ये होता है कंपनीज में. ओके, कंपनीज में क्या होता है, दे हैव अ प्रोप्राइटरी सॉफ्टवेयर ऑन विच यू आर वर्किंग, बट अगर आपने कुछ ऐसा कोड चेंज कर दिया जिससे पूरा सॉफ्टवेयर ही खराब हो जाएगा, राइट? So it is very risky. So they cannot give you access to the main branch or the master branch. They only give you access to any additional branches. तो इधर आपको कैसे करना रहेगा, you will work on a sub branch. आप अपना कोड लिखो, रिव्यू के लिए सबमिट करो. अगर रिव्यू हुआ, अगर सब कुछ प्रॉपर है, then it will be merged. Okay, so directly you will not have access to master or main. आप डायरेक्टली कोड चेंज कर ही नहीं सकते. दैट इज व्हाट इज अनट्रस्टेड. ओके, एंड फाइनली ओपन सोर्स डेवलपर्स. सो वेयर यू डोंट हैव एनी एक्सेस. ओके, ओनली थिंग इज यू कैन डाउनलोड द कोड बट यू कैन नॉट एडिट द कोड. मतलब आप जो एक्चुअल रिपोजिटरी है वहां पे आप कुछ चेंजेस नहीं कर सकते. देन द ओनली ऑप्शन इज फॉर्किंग, जो मैंने थोड़ी देर पहले बताया. सो देयर इज अ फॉर्क बटन इन नेक्स्ट टू द रिपोजिटरी. You can do forking and then you can change the code and upload the code. After uploading, you can submit your code to the original developer, right? Like for example, I have a package which is very famous and you want to contribute to my package. ठीक है, तो आपको मुझसे कुछ परमिशन नहीं लेना है. आप डायरेक्टली क्या करोगे, मेरे पैकेज पे आओगे, फॉर्क करोगे. Fork मतलब it copies that entire package to your account. Okay, so वो copy हो गया. Now it is like your own package and you are working on that package. पूरा complete हो गया. Complete होने के बाद you will submit a pull request. So I will show you what is a pull request. Pull request submit करोगे, वो मेरे पास आएगा. Then I will see what changes have you done. अगर वो changes से कुछ benefit होता है मुझे, then I will merge it with my ओरिजिनल सोर्स कोड. इफ कुछ नहीं हो रहा है, कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ रहा है या किसी काम का नहीं है आपने जो कोड लिखा है, आई विल जस्ट रिजेक्ट इट. ओके, सो दैट इज हाउ ओपन सोर्स डेवलपमेंट वर्क्स. ओके, सो आई होप द थ्योरी पार्ट इज क्लियर. एनी डाउट्स? ओके, सो
सर अगर जैसे कि मैं नया हूँ, मेरे को अभी गिटहब में मैं गया, अकाउंट बनाया, उसके बाद मेरे को कुछ चाहिए, जैसे मेरे को कॉलेज मैनेजमेंट सिस्टम बनाना है, तो उसका प्रोजेक्ट कैसा ढूंढूंगा, मतलब कैसा नेविगेट करूँ?
यू कैन ऑब्वियसली सर्च फ्रॉम हियर, राइट? गिटहब का सर्च खुद का है, बट आई वुड ऑलवेज सजेस्ट गो टू गूगल एंड सर्च देयर, बिकॉज गूगल का एल्गोरिथम कोई भी बीट नहीं कर सकता. ठीक है, कोई सर्च इंजन बीट नहीं कर सकता. सो गूगल इज द बेस्ट. यू जस्ट डिस्क्राइब योर इश्यू. ओके, सो जैसे कि अभी आपको कॉलेज मैनेजमेंट सिस्टम चाहिए, राइट? सो लेट मी जस्ट ओपन अ न्यू टैब. कॉलेज मैनेजमेंट सिस्टम, ओपन सोर्स, GitHub. ओके, सो आगे मैंने सिर्फ गूगल में सर्च किया, ये देखो गिटहब का पहला ही लिंक आ गया. और इनफैक्ट कितने सारे हैं, 1 2 3 4. सी, ये चीज मुझे गिटहब से भी मिल सकता था, बट गूगल सर्च करते तो बहुत अच्छे से समझ में आता है, राइट? व्हाट आर द रिजल्ट. सो इफ आई ओपन इट, राइट? सो एक मिनट, क्या कर लिया मैंने? हाँ, एक मिनट, दिए वाला है, सॉरी. सो इफ आई ओपन इट, यू कैन सी सम कोड इज देयर, राइट? कुछ तो है, कैसे इसको यूज करना है वो भी सब लिखा हुआ है. ओके, एंड द कोड इज इनसाइड दिस फोल्डर. सो इफ यू क्लोन इट, यू कैन सी कंप्लीट लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स इज देयर. कुछ तो बहुत बड़ा बनाया है जो इसने भी बनाया. वेरी गुड. ओके, सो this is how you can search for any code. You can clone it, work on it, and you can in fact contribute to the project itself, so that they your name will be there in their project also. Okay, so that can be done. Okay, is it clear?
Can I change the repository from public to private?
Yes, you can. you can just go to settings and okay, so here you can see change visibility, change repository. So you can click over here. Currently this is public, so you can change visibility and set it to private. Okay. Okay, so now very important thing is now next I don't think I will be able to cover the other two. Okay, today I will cover it tomorrow, but today we will cover the collab. So this all the three is collaboration related. Okay, so I will show you today the first one. First one is how to collaborate with trusted team, because this is more important in your case right now for mini project. Okay, so if you have a trusted team and if you want them to contribute, then how to do it. Okay, so let's come back to GitHub. B students have training at 7, so B students can leave. Okay, that recording will be there, they can leave. Okay, so let's suppose I go back to my repository and let's suppose this is my project workshop 2, right? So ये project में फिलहाल एक readme file है. Okay, so now what I want to do is I am not alone here. I want multiple people to work on this project. Okay, so let's say I have 4 members, 3 members, जितने भी members है उतने. So how to add collaborators to my project? Okay, so you have to go to settings and you can see manage access. So here, if I click manage access, you can see invite a collaborator. So here you can add all your team members. Now, one thing is a requirement that your collaborator, whoever is your team member, should have a GitHub account. ठीक है, उनको सिर्फ email ID से काम नहीं बनेगा. They should create a GitHub account. Okay, so let me invite. So I am requesting Dhanashri ma'am to be a volunteer. I will add her. Are you there, Dhanashri ma'am?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I will add her account. Dhanu K, is it right, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I will add her account as a collaborator. Okay, so now you can see it is added. So as soon as I add it, I can generate a so the account is added. I can click on this to copy the invitation code, and I will give this invitation code to ma'am. Okay, so I will.
Sir, I will open through mail so they will understand when they're sending it to the friends.
Yeah, so that is also fine. So either you can share this link to your friends, or you will also get an email on your email ID that certain person is trying to collaborate with you. So you can click on that link. So I will now stop my share and I will request Dhanashri ma'am to share her screen. Sir, does she has sharing access? Okay, yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, done, sir.
Okay, so you can see this is how the mail will come. Okay, you have to click on this invitation link and it will ask you, do you want to collaborate, accept invitation? So just click accept invitation and done. So now ma'am and myself, we both are in the same repository, and now we can start collaborating. Now let's see how to collaborate. So now the first thing that we do is copy the GitHub URL. Okay, so you go to code and copy this URL, then go to your command prompt, anything. Okay, so go to command prompt or any folder location wherever you want. You go to your your folder where you want to create the project. Okay, so ma'am, I think ma'am is going to do it in desktop, right? Yeah, so she is doing it in desktop. Yeah, so now here you can just do git clone, git space clone.
Our font is visible.
Yes, ma'am, it is visible. You can just clone the repository, ma'am. Git clone. Yeah. So here, see, ma'am, don't please press enter. Don't press. Okay. So now here I'm not putting dot. Okay. So if I don't put dot, what will happen?
It will create a folder of workshop 2.
Yes, right. So here I purposely am not putting dot because desktop के अंदर मुझे डेस्कटॉप के फोल्डर में मुझे नहीं बनाना है प्रोजेक्ट, राइट? मुझे एक फोल्डर के अंदर बनाना है. सो दैट्स व्हाई आई एम नॉट पुटिंग डॉट. ओके. सो कब डॉट पुट करना है, कब नहीं करना है, वो आपके ऊपर, आपको कैसा स्ट्रक्चर चाहिए उसके हिसाब से. ओके. सो जस्ट एंटर मैम. Done. Okay. So now my project is cloned. Okay. So now if you, yes, ma'am can show the project. So you can see workshop 2 करके folder बन गया, and inside that there is the readme file. फिलहाल तो एक ही फाइल है, इसके लिए और कुछ है नहीं, right? Ma'am, you can just right click here. No, on the folder, on the empty space. Yeah, हाँ चलेगा. Just right click and you can do open with कोड. नहीं है क्या आपके पास? ओके. सो यूजुअली यहाँ पे ओपन विथ कोड रहता है. अगर ओपन विथ कोड नहीं है, सो यू कैन जस्ट गो टू कमांड प्रॉम्प्ट. जस्ट गो टू कमांड प्रॉम्प्ट.
You want Visual Studio?
हाँ हाँ, नहीं चलेगा मैम. जस्ट गो टू कमांड प्रॉम्प्ट.
लेकिन ऐसे नहीं होगा समझ.
हाँ, जस्ट टाइप कोड. जस्ट फर्स्ट गेट इनसाइड योर फोल्डर वर्कशॉप 2. ठीक है. And now there is a shortcut to opening Visual Studio Code directly. You just have to type code space dot matlab the current directory. So when you run this, just enter, man. So you can see it automatically opens that folder for you inside Visual Studio Code. Okay. So now this is ready. The same thing I am going to do on my computer also, right? But now what we are going to do is, now Dhanashree ma'am is going to create a file called index.html, and I am going to create another file, let's say contact.html. Okay, so we both are going to work on different pages. Okay, so let's see how do we collaborate. Okay, so ma'am, you can just first start. So you will create a new file. First you do it, then I will show how I will do it. So ma'am, you can create first save it. You can save the file. You can close this, ma'am.
Sir, I will create it from here.
Yes, you can create a, you didn't click it, ma'am. Click index.html. Okay, and write some dummy code, ma'am.
Give me a minute. Hang.
Yeah, and you can just yeah, that I think that is enough. You can just give some title. Okay, now just commit this, ma'am. So you have to
they just have, you please tell them they have to save it. And then,
yeah, so always after writing it you have to save it. So once it is saved, now you can commit the file, right? So git add. So this is done at your teammate side. Okay, so then git commit -m. Okay, done. So this committing is done. Now I have to push it. Okay, so ma'am will push it. Enter. And done. So now the code is uploaded to the server. Ma'am, can you show the code? Is it uploaded? You can see index.html is uploaded. Now you can stop the share, ma'am. So now what ma'am has done is at her end. Okay, so one of your teammates has done this. Now I am the second teammate. Okay, so I am also going to do the same thing. I will go to code. I will take this, copy this, and come to my, I will directly do it through our, this thing. Okay, so let's create Collab project. Okay, so I have created a folder called Collab project. Select. Okay, and over here I am going to do git clone the URL and dot. Okay, so you can see how I have done it and how ma'am has done it. Okay, so what ma'am has done, she has done it the cloning directly, but what I have done it, I first created the project folder and then I'm cloning it inside that folder. That's why I am putting dot. Okay, so let's run this, and you can see even the index.html file that ma'am has created, it has come to me, right? So now here is where the collaboration is going to happen. Okay, so let's see. I create a file contact.html. Okay, so I've created this file. I have written some code and I will say contact me. Okay, contact me. Page is created. I will do git add, git commit -m, contact page. Okay, committing done. Now pushing. So let me do git push. Pushing also done. So now if I check my repository, if I refresh, you will see both the pages are there. Perfect. Okay, so now I will stop the share. So this is what is happening. So I am working on my pages. Ma'am is working on her pages, right? I will also show you what will happen if we both work on the same page. Okay, so that is coming. Just wait. Okay, now what I want is ma'am to do another file. Okay, so just ma'am share the screen, and now ma'am is going to create another file. Let's say about us. You just create a new file about us, about us.html. .html, just right click and rename. Okay, so about us.html, a new code is added. Okay, and you can commit this one. Okay, now all of you should note one thing, that I have created a file called contact us, but that file is not there with ma'am. Okay, but because she doesn't know that I have uploaded a new code, ma'am को पता ही नहीं है कि मैंने कुछ changes किए हैं. She is working on her code, right? So ये काम चल रहा है. Now what is she going to do? She is committing. Let's say she commits about page, about us page. Okay, now she is going to try to push the code. Okay, so let's see what will happen. Just a minute, ma'am, don't press enter. Now what do you think? Will it allow you to push?
No,
No. Why no?
you haven't pulled it from
Yeah, so basically whenever you work on a remote repository, you have to be on the same page as the remote repository. Okay, so basically क्या हुआ है अभी, remote जो है GitHub जो है वो अभी आगे चल रहा है, फ्यूचर में चल रहा है, and आप जो हो अभी पीछे हो. So whenever you do git push, you should always remember that before doing git push, you should first call git pull. Git pull से क्या होगा, अगर किसी ने कुछ नया कोड अपलोड किया है तो वो पहले आपके पीसी में आ जाएगा. ओके, सो लेट्स डू गिट पुल मैम फर्स्ट. ओके, एक मिनट पहले आप गिट पुश करके देखो.
शो एरर.
हाँ, या सो यू जस्ट ट्राई टू डू गिट पुश. आपने गिट पुल नहीं किया समझो, आपने डायरेक्ट गिट पुश किया. सो लेट्स सी व्हाट हैपेंस. कैन यू सी इट गिव्स मी एरर, और वो एरर के साथ साथ ये भी बता रहा है वो कि आपको करना क्या है. You have to do git pull first. Okay, so let's do git pull now. First you will do git pull and then you will do git push. Okay, done. Now you will do git push. ठीक है, सो अभी गिट पुल किया तो क्या हुआ, जो मैंने फाइल बनाया था कॉन्टैक्ट वो डाउनलोड हो गया. ठीक है, अब गिट पुश करने से क्या हुआ, जो मैम ने अभी नया फाइल बनाया अबाउट अस वो पुश हो गया सर्वर पे. ओके, सो ऑलवेज रिमेंबर व्हेनेवर यू वर्क ऑन, व्हेनेवर यू कोलैबोरेट, always you have to pull first and then push. Okay, so that the changes are first downloaded and then you can push your changes to the server. Okay, so this is one thing. Now the last part of collaboration is what happens if we both work on the same file. Okay, so let's, ma'am, just open, ma'am, you can only start. You can start working on index.html. Okay, and okay, so you can change the title to something else. Okay, so ma'am has changed the title to new title coming soon. Okay, now you can commit and push, ma'am. And git push. Okay, so here also you should have first done git pull first. Okay, because जब भी आप push करोगे ना तो git pull पहले करोगे तो better है. But luckily क्या हुआ है कि कोई changes हुए नहीं है, इसके लिए git push work कर गया. Okay, if by chance git push doesn't work, you have to do git pull first. Okay, so अभी मैम ने तो change कर दिया. Now ma'am, you can stop sharing. Now it's my turn. Okay, so I am also working on the same project, right? And by chance I am working on the same file as ma'am is working. Okay, so I am also working on the same file. Now the thing is, I don't know that ma'am has updated the code. I am not aware of it, right? I am not aware. तो चालू करने से पहले अगर मैं यहाँ पे git pull कर दूं, ओके, देन तो मेरा कोड अपडेट हो जाएगा, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं आएगा. बट हाउ विल आई नो कि मैम ने अपडेट किया है कोड, राइट? सो वो तो मुझे पता नहीं है, मैं तो अपने लोकल पीसी पे काम कर रहा हूँ. सो व्हाट आई विल डू, समझो मैंने गिट पुल नहीं किया तो मेरे पास तो मैम का अपडेटेड चेंजेस नहीं है, और मैंने क्या किया, इसका टाइटल नाम रख दिया रिजवी कॉलेज. ओके, I was not knowing ma'am has changed the title. मैंने इसका नाम रख दिया रिजवी कॉलेज, राइट? एंड मैंने क्या किया, कमिट भी कर दिया. Sorry, I cannot do commit directly. I have to first stage it. So git add, then git commit -m updated. Okay, so I have updated my code. Now see what happens. Now I have to first do what? Can I push my changes?
No, so you have to do git pull first.
Yeah, I have to do git pull first because मैम ने GitHub को आगे कर दिया है, तो उसको पहले मुझे pull करना पड़ेगा. So let's do git pull and see what happens. Okay, now when people are working on the same file, there is a conflict. Okay, so let's see what happens and how Git handles it. So when I do this, can you see what has happened? It is saying merging aborted and basically conflict occurred. Conflict occurred in index.html and automatic merge failed. That means what? Git confused है कि दोनों ने सेम फाइल चेंज कर दिया, तो अभी कौन सा रखना है, राइट? सो इट हैज मार्क्ड इट. ये हम लोगों ने पहले भी देखा था मर्ज के टाइम में. Whenever there is a conflict, this thing happens. Okay, so what to do now? Very simple. You just have to resolve the conflict. Okay, तो आपके पास दो ऑप्शन है, एक तो ये ऑप्शन है, एक तो ये ऑप्शन है. तो कौन सा आपको रखना है वो रखो, बाकी सब डिलीट कर दो, राइट? सो आई विल जस्ट रिमूव दिस. I will keep mine. Okay, That's it. And now I will save it. And now I will do git add, git commit -m conflict resolved. Okay, commit कर दिया. Now I can do git push. Perfect. Okay, so this is how you can collaborate when you are with friends. Okay, so you can work on different files. So usually क्या करते हैं जब हम लोग प्रोजेक्ट पे काम करते हैं, so we divide based on pages. Okay, so modules या pages जो भी जैसे भी आपको divide करना है. जैसे कि अभी मैंने index मैं बना रहा था, let's suppose contact us मैम बना रही है, right? So in that case conflict होने के chances ही नहीं है, right? But if you both are working on the same project or same module or same package, अगर ऐसा कुछ में काम कर रहे हो, then there will be a conflict, right? And whenever conflict happens, you have to resolve it. Okay, so GitHub आपको help कर देगा मार्क करके. आपको सिर्फ दोनों में से एक ऑप्शन सेलेक्ट करना है बस, एंड फिर से कमिट करना है. दिस हैज टू बी remembered. Whenever conflict occurs, you have to commit again. Okay, after changing everything, resolving the conflict, you have to commit again. Okay, so is it clear? Any doubts?
मतलब मैम के इसमें तो वो नहीं रहेगा ना चेंजेस.
हाँ, अभी जो चेंजेस किया है वो मैम के इसमें नहीं है. एक मिनट, दैट इज अ वेरी गुड क्वेश्चन. So that now ma'am can share the screen.
Sir, suppose both the changes means both the things I need, then suppose in
आप वो
the
सिर्फ
conflict.
टैग्स हटा दो. जो
Okay.
मार्कर्स लगे ना हेड और करके, वो जो स्लैश वाले थे, वो सिर्फ मार्कर हटा के दोनों रखो.
Okay.
आपको जो कोड चाहिए वो आप रख सकते हो. ऐसा जरूरी नहीं कि कोई एक ही सेलेक्ट करना है. यू कैन पुट एनीथिंग, सिर्फ वो मार्कर्स हटाना है बस. ठीक है. एंड नाउ यू कैन सी in मैम्स कोड इट इज स्टिल द ओल्ड वन. रिजवी कॉलेज नहीं हुआ है. क्यों नहीं हुआ? बिकॉज मैम ने अभी तक पुल नहीं किया है. ओके, सो लेट्स डू अ पुल एंड रिजवी कॉलेज हो गया. राइट, सो अ नॉर्मल process is whenever you start writing a new code, first do a pull so that अगर आपके फ्रेंड्स ने कुछ चेंजेस किए हैं कोड में तो वो अपडेट हो जाए. राइट, एंड देन यू स्टार्ट वर्किंग ऑन. अदरवाइज अगर आप पुल करने भूल गए तो बाद में वो कॉन्फ्लिक्ट रिजॉल्व करने को टाइम लग जाएगा. ओके, सो एवरी कॉन्फ्लिक्ट यू हैव टू रिजॉल्व and then push it. Okay, so it takes a little more time, but then that is also fine. Okay, so that is it for today. Any query?